God dwells in you. Let us pray. Oh God, this is a hard time, a season of confusion, a frantic rush, only to find ourselves empty. Give us hope, Lord, and remind us of your steady power and gracious purposes that we may live fully. Renew our faith that the earth is not destined for dust and darkness, but for life and deep joy. That being set free from anxiety for the future, we may take the risks of love for today. Amen. I thank you all for being here this day. We do have a back end that we need to pay attention to, and so at 9:45 we're going to have to hit the pause button so that our liturgical players can get over and get prepared for our 10 o'clock worship. Let me just tell you, it is a privilege to be with you. It has been a privilege to be amongst you this week. In a moment, Susan's going to talk about what has happened thus far, but I want to start by saying what has happened has been of the Spirit. What has happened has been heroic and Herculean, and I could not feel more fortunate to work with the staff and the team, some of them here, the leadership of the parish, and then the countless members from the parish who came out in these last several days. Susan will say more about that, but it is a privilege to be amongst you. In this time that we're going to spend today, we've got several movements. As I said, Susan's going to give you just a brief recap about what's happened, and then we're going to talk about moving forward. We're going to talk specifically about our commitment to pastoral care. We're going to talk specifically about our strategy and needs regarding donations. We're going to talk about what we can offer, how we can provide services, and how we can also be a conduit for connections. If you understand the distinction between those two, there are some things that we can offer right here, right in this space, and then perhaps our greatest offering as we move forward is being conduits for connections, for resources. So we're going to talk about that as well. We're going to do this in as timely a fashion as we can. This is a forum to give you information. When Thomas stands up here, he will say, but I'll say now by way of framing our time together, we're going to have opportunities for personal sharing, stories, reflections for the emotional labors. But this morning we need to be a little bit more technical because of the immediate needs, and so we're going to give you information at various junctures. We are going to do perhaps the foolish thing and turn it over to questions and suggestions. What I mean by that is, look, we could be here for hours and hours. So when we turn it over for questions and suggestions, we really just mean popcorn stuff, quick stuff. We'll be taking notes, but for better or for worse, you get one sermon today, and it's coming from me at 10 o'clock. Okay, all right. Okay, so I'm going to keep us moving. I'm so thankful that you're here, and so thankful that on Tuesday Susan was here, partnering with her as well as with all of this cast has been a gift. So Susan?
Breath, she said to herself. I'm Susan Russell. I have the privilege of being one of the priests on staff here. I've been here for 22 years, and I've never been prouder to be part of All Saints Church. And I have 5 minutes, so we're going to launch right in. As many of you know, we were watching the winds. We were being terrified for our friends in the Pacific Palisades, and all of a sudden, many of us were packing go bags and battling winds and trying to get animals out, connecting with friends. The way the All Saints response began was simply, and I'm going to use, I hope this is not a horrible, it was almost like an ember of grace as opposed to an ember of destruction flying through the air. And that ember of grace were a couple of us saying, all right, we need to get out. Where do we even go to figure out where to go? And it was, well, we could go to All Saints. We have the code. It called down. Verna said, no, the guys are already there. Come down. You can come and figure out what to do. So several of us staff members and Veronica Flores, former staff member and friend, came, started to gather. People started to call. We decided in consultation with our priest in charge that, yes, we could open up the space to members of the congregation. And so we created an opportunity to invite folks in and then said, shall we widen up the community? The answer, which took like 30 seconds, was of course. So our invitation went out on social media and folks started to dribble in. We were very clear, we were not a bona fide evacuation center. We did not have cots, we did not have blankets, we did not have beds, we had us. We just had a place to come. And people started dribbling in. At first it was 10 or 12, then it was 30. I would run over the names of the staff who were here all night, but I'm afraid I would miss someone, so I'm not going to do it. But those of you who were here know who you are, and your Herculean efforts will never not be sort of written in the obelisk of life. The image that came to me midnight, sitting at the desk as people were coming and going, and I feel like what we were equipped to do and able to do and nimble enough to do and willing to do was what Jesus did when the 5,000 came to him. And they gathered and said, we're hungry, we need food. And there was none, and yet it miraculously appeared. Now, y'all may have your own theology about that. Please don't ask questions about that when we get suggestions. We can unpack that later. But Jesus did what he needed to do. He called his disciples together. He said, figure out a way to feed these people. They got fed, and then they got sent home. Jesus did not create a brick and mortar loaves and fishes stand that's still there. What we were able to create in that moment was live out that scriptural gospel truth of serving the least of these, in as much as. And we ended up with 180 people. Also many cattle, as they say in the book of, which one is that, Jonah? And cats, dogs, scattered around, people on couches, people in corners. I could tell you a bunch of stories, but I'm going to tell you one of Dorothy, who is 88 years old, lived alone. Her woman who cleans her house knew she was alone and needed to be evacuated. She heard on the radio as she was driving that we were a respite center, so her housekeeper picked her up and brought her here, and they stayed with us that night until we could connect her. People rallied. In the meantime, we started thinking about next steps. What could we do? Again, we opted to offer overnight stay for one more night to give people time to figure out, to breathe and figure out where to go. As Tim alluded to, connect them with resources, whether that was helping make hotel reservations, providing Ubers, connecting with the convention center, providing transportation for some of our accessibility challenged folks, and then started setting up Sweetland Hall as a short-term resource hub. You'll hear more about how that's going to continue, but it is the place that people could and still could come for the immediate need, not forever, not for long, but for now. If you need water, if you need hygiene, if you need immediate needs, we're here for you there. And we will be here as we move forward. Finally, in closing, this is a moment. It's a moment for us to be who we're called to be, which is that beacon of love, justice, and compassion we send you all out to be every time we gather at that altar. And we're going to work that out through these next days and hours and weeks and months. It literally will be an inch at a time, And we may take an inch forward and decide, not the right inch, we may back up. So we're going to ask for grace to be nimble as we make decisions and move forward. But what I have seen rise already out of the ashes of this devastation is truly a phoenix of All Saints Church at its best. And what we are doing right now, friends, is leveraging the privilege we have. We're leveraging the privilege we have to meet the needs of those who are the most in need. And that is exactly what Jesus would do. And what Jesus would also do at this point would be turn this mic back over to Tim Rich in order to keep us on track. So thank you. God bless. Call me anytime. Love you, mean it.
It's a daunting thing to imagine Jesus turning anything over to me. But I thank you, Susan, for that. So we're going to pivot to moving forward. I want to say just some general framing comments, and then we'll start going sort of department by department. As Susan already said, it really is going to be a one day at a time. The staff has been meeting almost daily, and we will meet about every other day to assess. Sometimes decisions that we made yesterday might no longer be the right decisions moving forward. Sometimes the needs that we perceived yesterday might be different from the needs that we perceive moving forward. We are committed to communicating with you on a regular basis. Again, I'm going to imagine that that's about every other day, even if it's to say nothing new. But sometimes it might be there are these new needs. It is a time when we want to ask for, as a friend of mine once says, extra grace required. We're not going to get this perfect, but we're not going to let perfection be the enemy of progress either. We're going to do our very best. Let us know if we've missed something or something's fallen through the cracks, but extra grace is going to be required. Last thing I want to say, look, we're trying to be discerning about what we can do in a way that is effective, that is sustainable, that is reasonable, and then we're trying to make sure that we are synchronized in those efforts. So the key words there are discerning and sustainable and synchronized, and those are some of the guiding principles as we move forward in the particular ways such as pastoral care. We are so blessed to have Thomas Diaz as our director for pastoral care. Thomas, thank you, and please come forward.
Good morning, community and family, and really beloved community. My name is Thomas Diaz, director of Connection and Care, which does include our pastoral care offices here at the church. So on behalf of the pastoral care office, I extend my prayers and my deepest compassion to all impacted by the Eaton fire and really across the Los Angeles County. We stand in solidarity with those who have suffered this immense loss. We remain steadfast to our commitment to walking in this way of love to our neighbors and to all those who are facing devastation and uncertainty. As we face this crisis together, may we be inspired by Dr. King's vision of a beloved community, a place where love and justice transcends division, where compassion leads to action, and where each person has dignity. Each person is guided with love, and each person is prioritized to their needs at this time. So let me kind of give you a big picture shot of what has happened in this past week. The first thing that we had acted on is to get a running list of folks who unfortunately have lost homes and property. We have that list. For the confidential reason, I'm obviously not going to tell you who's on that list, though I'm sure you all are sharing with one another just the status of your property and housing, and that is okay. But just to assure you that we as a church have a list of folks, and we have made contact, we will continue to do so, And we are still capturing folks who have yet discovered that their property has been damaged or destroyed. And I will say that the first immediate area of focus has been the Altadena area, but that rest assured that we are still trying to capture folks on the west side of our county, because we do have folks across our county who are part of this community. But for now, we do have a list of those in the Altadena, Northern Pasadena, and Sierra Madre areas that we are focused on. So we have made contact with folks. We will continue to do so, and assure that if you are just struggling just as to what next steps do I need to do to either get insurance going, or just what do I need to do, we have referral sheets and web links for you. And so those are the contacts that we are making with individuals and families. The next step of action that we will launch starting today is we have called a group of folks to be part of what we're calling the All Saints response team. For many of you, that might sound familiar back to pandemic days. We're kind of reactivating that team again, and we're going to start making calls. We have 5 immediate zip codes within the Altadena, Northern Pasadena, and Sierra Madre areas and neighborhoods that we're going to starting today. And really, there's kind of 3 reasons what we're going to do with these calls. One is just the most important part, and that is just making connection, assuring that this is your beloved community, this is your church, and we just want to make sure you are doing okay, and just tell us what's going on. What do you need? The second is, if you still are at a loss for resources, we have a good compiled a list of web links that, one, I should step back and say, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. There have been other organizations, including Judy Chu's office, who has put a compiled really resource guide, and so we just want to get that out to folks to know that is available for you. But just to assure that we will also have a resource page on our website so that folks can go to and just be able to kind of go through a drop-down menu and be able to click on any of those resources available. And then the third part is, given that we are a church, we're here to be your spiritual presence with you. So your clergy and your pastoral staff, we are present for you and with you, and we're going to reach out. I know in times in great devastation, it is hard maybe just to reach out and say, I need help. And so if that's the case, we're going to come to you. And so we have a strategy in how, from our callers that are going to start today, and then as Tim alluded to earlier, we're taking it day by day. One decision we might make today might shift tomorrow, and that's all based on the needs. But most importantly, we're just trying to capture what are the needs right in this moment, and how can we just show up for you. The third has been an ongoing kind of building up to what we're calling our fire relief resource distribution center, which is upstairs in Sweetland Hall. That almost immediately happened on Wednesday, as Susan mentioned, that we were a care of respite and just for folks to be able to come and have a safe place to come to. And then donations were coming in. And initially, we were just kind of saying, okay, great, we'll have them on standby. And then fish and loaves, it grew. And so upstairs is that witness that's been happening. So we have been operating 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We have had just an abundance of volunteers who have come and say, how can I help? And so we're so grateful for those individuals. And the needs are always shifting. So we're just telling folks, if you want to volunteer, you can place your name, and Sarah will mention how to kind of get your name if you want to help. But that's really just to be on standby, and because as the needs are shifting. We will continue that distribution center upstairs in Sweetland Hall for the time being, 9 to 5 p.m. each day. And how it's designed is we really want families and individuals to have agency as to what they need. We are not necessarily restricting what you can and cannot have. There are some areas that we're limiting, such as water and diapers, and those are critical needs. And so if you are still wanting to donate those needs, please do bring them. But really, what has been a remarkable just sight upstairs is just seeing how folks are saying, thank you so much for, one, having this distribution center, but secondly, thank you for allowing me to have agency for what I need. Because the important part is we want folks to be able to feel that they can come into a space, be able just to kind of take a deep breath, and then start looking at, okay, what can I collect? And for those who are still in evacuated zones, a lot of those items, you can't, they're limited because you're not be able to necessarily go back to your home, and wherever you are evacuated, you're still trying to figure out how to take those resources with you. So that's why we want to continue that on for the time being. We are very much still in that triage kind of activation mode, and as this next week kind of moves on, we will continue to again evaluate what are the needs. But most importantly, what I want you to know is that we are absolutely here for you, and we will show up where we need to show up, and just stay in touch with our communications as we continue to send them out into the wider parish. Now, we will take some questions. Oh, go ahead.
Hello. Thank you. I just wanted to know, how do you get your name if you've lost everything on the evacuation on that list?
Your individual name if you lost things, correct? Yes. So there is I think we have. Okay. So thank you for that question. If you are wanting to make sure that you are on our list for those who have lost property and damage, please go see Jenny, and Jenny will record, because we're trying to capture, and I will say, if extra grace required, we're trying our best to capture folks. I'm sure we have not captured everyone. So let's just say this, if you have lost property and we have not given you a call, most likely we have not been able to capture you. Let's do that now. And so if you can go see Jenny right over there at the table, we'll make sure we get you recorded and make you a phone call. Yeah. Thank you.
But Bob, right behind you.
Oh, Lee.
So I've been directing people, I'm not going to say, but directing people that I know in my community, my school, that have lost things here as well if they need anything. And I was just wondering, I know we're open I've been volunteering up there with I call it the resource market now, from whenever I can. And I'm just wondering, how long are we going to be open? And I know it's from 9 to 5, but how many days are we going to be open with that resource place that people can come? Because I don't want to direct someone and then they come and the church is not open or something.
So as I mentioned, we're going to remain operating 9 to 5 for the remaining of the week. And we will make sure we will communicate if that shifts. We will send that out as both an email, put that on our website, and just assure folks. But for now, we are full operation from 9 to 5. And I may mention too that at the table where Jenny is at, there are yellow flyers. We do want to make sure that we get visibility and the word is out. Thank you, Jenny. And so do distribute them. Mention to folks that we are and also an option for folks to come and gather resources.
Hi, I'm Margie Power. I'm a parishioner. I now own a lot in a chimney in Altadena. I'm also an active Red Cross volunteer. I was working on the activity in downtown LA, and of course I immediately stepped down and they got me a replacement when I found out my house was gone. But I will make sure the staff is fully informed of all the Red Cross resources that are available to you, because there's a lot more than the immediate sheltering that people need to know about. And it's open to everyone.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi.
Yes. Hi there.
Can you clarify what sort of needs there are? I've heard that there's really no need for clothes and more of a need for gift cards. Can you just clarify kind of where the needs are? And is All Saints taking gift cards to Ralph's?
Sure. I want to have my colleague Sarah Nolan talk about forms of donations, but for upstairs in the resource center, I would say big needs right now is continued toiletry items, water, paper towels, toilet paper, and sanitary hand wipes. A lot of folks have come in and asked for that, so we are still in need of that. But yes, clothing-wise, as we're hearing across the county, but here particularly in Pasadena, we are maxed out with our clothing. And also that is another message that we want to get visible out there. If folks are needing clothing, please let them know that we do have a wild good stock, a pile of them. And in just a moment, Sarah Nolan will talk about other forms of donation.
So my name's Alice Baklayan, and I live just very close to the church. I'm a parishioner, and I want to offer a room. I have an extra room in my condo if anyone needs a place to stay.
Thank you for that. And also my other colleague, Amanda, is going to talk about how other ways that you can offer, besides monetary donations, if you're offering other areas of donations, we have a system for that as well.
We are going to be tracking the people who have offered spaces, so thank you.
All right.
How do we, and probably you're going to talk about this, but how do we get on the list of being somebody who could call 10 other?
So the caller, thank you for that. We have a designated team that are making these calls. At the moment, we are okay with that team, and if there's a need for more, we will let you know. All right.
Hi,
Gloria.
I'm Gloria. I've been working at the distribution center. Just in addition to what you said, you're right, we don't need clothes, but there are a couple things that go very quickly, and one is brand new pillows. As soon as we get brand new pillows, they're gone in 5 minutes, and we need new, hopefully bagged underwear for men and women. That's a big need. So those two things we still can get.
Perfect. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you.
Just one or two more, and then we need to move on to Sarah. So do we have any others? We want to give new people a chance to talk. Someone up here? Who?
Betty Cole.
I've learned that St. Mark's Episcopal Church, in addition to burning down and the school burning down, that 35 families lost their homes. Is our church in connection with, Reverend Brendan and so forth, working with them specifically?
We are. We're with our bishop, Bishop John Taylor, who has just been a principal lead at this time. We're in connection with that in our diocese. Yes, so that we're in full connection. I will end on this note. This week, we are trying to figure out that balance between our normal operation and still operating as a resource center. But in terms of pastoral kind of support, we do have a scheduled we're going to continue on with our schedule, kind of regular scheduling programming, such as grief and loss support group with Chris Fultz. If you kind of want to wave your hand tomorrow, that is going to be a place to go and process. And whatever feelings you have, even if you're not property impacted, but just emotionally, that will be available for you. We have our Monday night meditation with Betty Cole, who just spoken right at this moment, and in other various options and just areas that you can come and process as a community. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Thomas. And for those people, if you had questions, comments we didn't get to, just try to see us after, those of us who aren't running over to be a part of the liturgy. Want to talk specifically, we've been so blessed by folks making donations, and so I want to bring Sarah up here to talk about All Matters donations. Sarah?
Thank you. My name is Sarah. I am the Director of Giving and Economic Justice here at All Saints, and it has been an honor and a privilege to be here during this season. I just want to share that, a lot of us, and I know many of you have been running on adrenaline, and then when that kind of slows down, you maybe wake up and kind of cry. And there's a lot that we're holding right now, and I just want to name that, and this is a journey that we're going to be on together, and we're going to go through this together. So just know that. And also there's just been a lot of amazing human, like the capacity for compassion. And that's what I've really seen in people's generosity. I'm going to speak specifically to the monetary donations. We've set up a fire relief fund specifically here at All Saints. Obviously, there are lots of places that you can give. We've had over 120 donors from all over the world give funds, and we're continuing to raise money. You can go on to our the website and go to the donate page, and you will see where you can give there. Those funds are going to go towards purchasing gift cards, and we've talked about Airbnb gift cards and ways that we can really support, starting with our members and also some community partners. I'm thinking about our relationships with other churches in the area. There's going to be a process for how we provide that for others, but that is definitely, this is funds that will go directly to people who are impacted to help, especially as we move out of the pick up supplies in the Sweetland Hall phase into really kind of recognizing that there's going to be ongoing needs for weeks and weeks and weeks, and really wanting to be able to be a resource for that. I am also serving as our contact with Episcopal Relief and Development, which is the worldwide kind of organization of the Episcopal Church that does disaster relief. And they will be sending resources, both financially, but also just disaster relief, helping us navigate how we can be a resource for the community, as well as we're in touch with Catherine Barger's office, how we can serve the community in that way. And I'll be working with them to look at that. So not only do we need to be setting things up, but there are people who come in and set up support, and that we can be a resource physically as well. And finally, Thomas has talked about material donations, which I will not say more. I think, thank you, Gloria, for sharing what those needs are. We actually didn't put a request for donations. They just started coming. We've never actually asked for anything. People just asked, what do we need? And that's how we've responded. And at first it was like, no, no, no. And it's like, just let it flow and just trust it will get to where it needs to go eventually. And I'm thankful for everyone who has helped us stay fluid. So that is what I'm going to share. And if you have questions, I will be up at that table afterwards. And volunteer-wise, if you are interested in volunteering, there's a sign-up sheet. I'm going to be pulling together a team to help us think through the ever-changing volunteer needs that we're going to be looking at, because it literally feels like it changes every day. And so when I reach out to you, don't say no. All right.
No, I'll just let that kind of sit there. Consider yourself forewarned. We want to spend a little bit of time talking about human resources and also referral resources. As I said in my opening comments, we're trying to find the balancing act between the direct service that we can provide and then directing people to places, to referral sources where those services can be offered. Nancy and Amanda are watching over that, and so I'll bring them both forward.
Hi, I'm Nancy Necker. I'm happy to be here. I'm going to talk a very quick minute about some of the resources. And I see so many faces here, and I'm just acknowledging that there's a tremendous amount of loss, and my heart is aching for you. Anyway, Thomas mentioned that Judy Chu's, what we've determined is Judy Chu's office has put out the best resource guidelines that we can offer. And Jenny, can you show that guidelines? It's this tall stack, just, wave it around a bit. Yeah, that one. So please pick up that. That's a really good guidelines, has the best resources that we can find right now. Keith Holman will post all of these links on the website. So we are accumulating resources and guidelines and agencies out there that are offering services. So check our website. It'll be on the front page on that third box. There, it will be updated frequently for you. And so keep checking it. I do want to say that volunteer needs, we've mentioned that, and I don't want to repeat that again, but they do change day to day, so keep checking in with us and with Sarah on that. Off to Amanda.
Okay, so a lot of people have been asking about just needing help. How do I file my insurance claim? How do I file for unemployment because my place of business burned down and now I don't have a job? So that is what we're working on, trying to get expertise. We know that we've got a million amazing people in our community. So if you are a social worker, or if you are someone who's been working in the insurance industry as an adjuster, maybe you are an attorney who has experience working with insurance claims, we're looking for you. We're looking for your advice and your volunteer time. If you can, if that is your area, please contact Thomas by email so that we can record that information. We also are looking for, real estate experts, so people who work in rental properties who can help people navigate how to find a place to stay. So if you have any contacts or if you are an expert in that field, please reach out. The other thing that we are looking for, or that people are asking about, is I have a room in my home. I have a back house. If you are connected to our community, if you are a parishioner who has a space available that you would like to offer to another parishioner in our community, please email Thomas as well. We are compiling that list because we know that there are a lot of people that want to help, and that's a very tangible way to do so. If you have questions about any of that, you can find one of us afterwards as well. If there's anything else that you have questions about, we'll take a few minutes to take questions. There is a sign-up sheet here on the table by Jenny. So if you have a skill set that you want to offer, you can go write down your contact information and your name. Sorry, don't email Thomas. Go write it down over there. We'll compile it. He's got enough emails to sort through already. So please write it down over there. And then also, for those that don't know, I am the Director of Children, Youth, and Family. I've put an article out just about for families, how to talk to kids about the fires and loss. And if you have questions, please do come see me. I'm happy to talk with you. Does anybody have questions? Hold on, let's get the mic to you.
Hi, I can't bring up the email from my state senator, Sasha Perez, but a list that her office compiled of resources, and also in that email, which I can send to Thomas or anyone, the state insurance commissioner is sending a team to Pasadena City College, and it has the date and time. You can bring, and you can make an appointment, I believe, but there is one-on-one help.
That's great.
Thank you. So I just want to interrupt to say, so that's an example of something that I really believe will see us through this. There is so much wisdom in the room. So thank you. We're going to continue to collect wisdom. Send us that stuff. We're going to have a direct link online that'll have articles that you might want to read, frequently asked questions, all that sort of stuff. We're going to compile that with your help. So thanks for that piece of wisdom. Speaking of wisdom, here's Kathy.
No pressure. One of the things I've become aware of is scams have already started happening. And that in an emotional state, we just go for whatever comes first. So it occurs to me that one of the ways to check on something like that may be through the resources that you guys already have. I've already had 3 phone calls for a new roof. And I don't say yes to anybody unless you verified what it is.
A great observation, thank you. I got her.
If there's a need for foster homes for pets.
Jenny, will you write that down, please? You're awesome. Great question. That's why we're going to be meeting, every other day to assess needs.
There is, and there's flights taking pets to Utah to foster them there, through the Humane Society.
Hi, I'm Janice Reed, and I'm a social worker, but I'm not volunteering because I also lost my house. But I want to make a comment of what has become really apparent to me in the last week is that what people first want to do is send us money, and that's lovely, but we're insured, and that's not our first need. And then we talk about the stuff, and we have, if you're my Facebook friend, we've been clear about the stuff we've needed, and we've gotten it. But what I think we're overwhelmed by, and we're fairly high-functioning adults, is all of the different tasks. Now, we've seen every list out of this is what you're supposed to do, and all the links and all the stuff, and it's great, and I'm not upset that that's going out. That needs to go out, and some of it's better than others. I agree, Judy is probably the most useful. But a lot of people in crisis, especially older people, are not going to be able to follow all those links and sit in the lines and do all those things because it's just too much. I am a person with ADHD and executive functioning issues, so I'm struggling with it. But I know that people are struggling with it a lot more, especially if they're single and they don't have people to bounce it off with. And what I would do in my fantasy world is have case managers, not that you sit in the Red Cross office with and they talk to you once and say, here, call them. A case manager that follows you through your needs. It's probably unrealistic, but if there are people who could do that for the most vulnerable among us, that they can help weed out the scams and things like that, because those are the people who are going to get burned by the scams.
That's so helpful. Thank you. Look, yes. And that's an example of, as we assess needs and also assess then the human resources to meet those needs, if we can have people who can walk with others through it, that's an example of what we'll try to do. So helpful. I want to add one more thing about the dog. So Marin, her granddaughter works at Dogtopia, and they are offering 3 days of shelter for free. And so she asked me to share that with you. Go ahead. You get the last word.
Okay, good, because I know we're running out of time, and I really want to offer this suggestion. I'm Jane Brust, and if it would be helpful, I know Thomas says there's a list of our All Saints families, members who have lost homes. I would like to offer the opportunity to organize some teams that could perhaps host a dinner upstairs, maybe once a week for a few weeks. Again, it has to be sustainable. I get all that. I just would like to offer a hot meal and some community for those members to come to a safe place and be together with other members. And perhaps if everybody's signing up at the table over there, if somebody is interested in helping with community dinners, maybe they could just note that over there, and I'll follow up with Nancy or whoever. Okay?
That's
or
wonderful.
Thomas.
Thank you so much.
Just to add, if you do want to sign up, and if you are someone, because we have kind of thought about having someone who would journey with people, if you maybe don't necessarily have an expertise, but have the time and the capacity to journey with someone, put that on the sign-up sheet as well.
So we're going to have to end. Let me do a quick checkout of the team here. How many of you can stay versus need to leave to get dressed for services? So could you just raise your hand high? So you can stay. So if you have additional, forgive me for putting a bullseye on you, but if you have additional questions, comments that you didn't have a chance to make, Sarah, Nancy, Walter, and Al can stay. Again, Jenny is taking names up there. Let me close by saying thank you, by saying extra grace required. We want to be ministers of grace and agents of grace. I'm going to offer this final closing prayer as well. Holy One, we have so few ways to pray, but you have so many ways to answer. Keep us alert to your unpredictable answers, to your unexplainable surprises, and by your grace, make us one of those surprises. For the sake of the one who taught us the surprises of moving mountains, healing touches, wondrous stories, great banquets, first suppers, broken bread, crosses, and resurrections. Amen. Thank you all. God bless.